This is Just in Case of American Newscape, joining our friend Melissa Staroszik, described by many as a combination of class and sex appeal. Melissa is a Canadian-born dancer, director, choreographer, and model. She will be sharing perspectives on the on and backstage entertainment worlds rarely seen. Greetings, Melissa. Welcome to American Newscape.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
We're excited. We are excited. Melissa, simply wow. What a pleasure to interview you. Could you give me a feel for what a typical day in Melissa's life of entertainment is?
Well, typical day has evolved over this last year, obviously due to the pandemic. But regardless, I am just always creating. So, even though the entertainment industry is currently shut down, I'm always coming up with new ideas and ways to stay sharp and to stay creative. So typically, I'll wake up in the morning, I work out, I do all my emails, and then I get to work. So actually, prior to this, I was editing a music video. So,
Well, when I think about what you do, Melissa, okay, dancer, you're a disciplined athlete. Director, you're a motivator of people. I mean, you try and draw things out of people, make people better than they are. Choreographer,
yeah.
I visualize somebody with like a ringmaster with a whip and a chair, and that's probably not fair to choreographers in the world, but I bet there's a lot of dancers that would agree with me. And then a
I
mod,
mean,
but not only a model, but a photographer. I mean, every one of these is an art form onto itself.
yeah. So, I kind of fell into a lot of those things because when I moved to the US, I'm an immigrant, so you can't work unless you have a work visa. So I was really strapped for cash the first few years out here. And so I thought, well, if I can't afford to have someone record my dance videos, I'll buy a camera and do it myself. And over the last 10 years, I mean, cameras have evolutionized on cell phones. So now, like, everybody can be a videographer. But it forced me to learn how to edit, to learn how to direct, to learn how to take photos. And even with my own entertainment company, on our website, I would say probably 95% of the photos and videos I did myself. Um, but I also know exactly what I'm looking for. So it ends up being a little bit easier on me in the end.
Well, it does, and I understand that. I've become a photographer out of necessity. I've learned to edit videos out of necessity. 21 years ago, we built websites out of necessity, and
Hmm.
maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's that drive to learn and that constant need to renew ourselves. But it is remarkable. I would like to take a moment, Melissa, and show people this is a promotional video from her own website, and it the music's been replaced out of copyright laws, but it really gives everybody a feel for what you do. Would you like to add to that intro?
No, I think you've done it beautifully.
I've done it beautifully. Well, I haven't heard that very often. Okay, here we go. Okay. What strikes me is one of the interesting things that you do is I don't want to say that you're a party planner or organizer or choreographer, but for all those people that really want to hold that once in a lifetime bash and up their game, what you could bring to a party is just remarkable.
Oh, thank you for that. It was pointed out to me that I am obsessed with Beauty and the Beast, the movie.
No wonder you're
And
no wonder you're here.
I was like, okay, yeah, I really liked that movie. My brother and I used to watch it on repeat. Like we'd take the tape and the VHS and rewind it and watch it again. And then a friend of mine is like, well, that's why you design like living furniture and this kind of stuff. It's like the infamous dining room scene where the candelabras come to life and the table's talking. And, I just create that because I think it's dope. Like, I don't create anything that I wouldn't also want at my own party. And that being said, at my last birthday party that I was allowed to have pre-COVID, I had a mermaid serving champagne and I had models handing out cupcakes. Like it's truly stuff that I enjoy.
Well, and the guests do too. I mean, it's something
Yeah.
to let's just something. I don't know. Landmark's not the word, but it's just an epic experience, I would say. Um,
Yeah.
we when you were a child, were you just naturally born with strike the pose? I mean, your ability to dance and your angles and the way you pose for the camera, it's just like it's inherent in you. Was your mom a model or?
Oh, she probably should have been. She wasn't. And she really wasn't a stage mom either. She kind of just let me do my thing. But from a very young age, I was a performer. I would get up at family functions and, drag my cousins into the back room and create a dance and then come out and perform it with like newspaper costumes or, just always doing fun things like that. Or I'd be at a restaurant and I'd just get up and start serenading the patrons, whether they wanted it or not. So that was kind of in me. And then my foundational movement training is in rhythmic gymnastics. So I competed as a rhythmic gymnast for 8 years at a high level. And with that, we always did sport specific ballet. And I just loved ballet. I loved the discipline of it. So when I retired from sport, I continued with that. And I had always told my coaches, I'm going to continue dancing. Like, I just love it. So technically I didn't really start dancing till I was 21, but it wasn't like I was without any training prior to that. So it definitely helped. And almost immediately I fell into choreography before I had even performed much as a dancer. So uh, it's just something that came really naturally to me.
Well, choreography, ribbon dancing, and a lot of people need to remember the pretty young ladies on the gymnastics floor with these long, long ribbons. That's my memory of it.
Yep, yeah, that's exactly what I did.
But it,
Ribbon
but
was actually what I'm known for.
but it's what, but it's more than that. I mean, it's leaps, it's lunges, it's tumbling, and it's all kinds of things. So it
Flexibility. Yeah, in rhythmic, there's no tumbling, but there are pre-acrobatic elements.
okay. Okay. Well, I remember tumbling. I must have been maximum ribbon dancing that I saw pay per view.
Maybe.
What about your? When did you become a photographer, Melissa?
I wouldn't label myself a photographer actually, but I guess I do take photos. um, and again, that was kind of just out of necessity, or I'd be at an event, and what I noticed is there was always a photographer there, but after the fact, it was really hard to get the photos. Like I had to dig, and they would always promise, we're going to get them to you, but they wouldn't. So I just took things into my own hands and started taking the photos myself. So the first few years for Elite Entertainment Global, which is my entertainment company, I probably looked insane. I was the woman backstage, like putting the costumes together, getting the girls ready, putting them out on the floor, and then like grabbing my camera and becoming like a paparazzi, but also still managing the talent. There is a video actually of me at a club on Melrose, and I'm literally like in a sweater, and I've got flip flops on, and everybody around me is dressed to the nines, and I'm just, furiously making sure everything's perfect, and then flip to photographer.
Well, and it's important. Having managed a
Hmm.
lot of major fundraisers, it always seemed the photographer took the photos that they wanted as opposed to the photos we needed for the event. And yeah, that is indeed a skill. And you recognize that and you knew what you needed out of it. Okay, so photographer, director. So you became a director of yourself, but others as well, correct?
Yeah, so I would say almost every dancer is a director of their own career. But when I branched off and created my entertainment company, which is a separate entity from myself, that's really when I had to put the director hat on. And I would say prior to that, I've always fallen into leadership roles pretty naturally. And I also have a business degree. I went to the University of Lethbridge. So I understand management in depth, but not everybody has the know-how of how to apply that in entertainment. So I think that's kind of like my secret weapon is that I have scholastic knowledge and firsthand experience. So I understand what it's like to be the talent, and I also understand what it's like to be behind the camera. And I have education behind me, which helps me to communicate to all parties involved what exactly is necessary to make this fantastic.
Well, yeah, and as a former coach, being able to communicate with people in various forms because you have to come to a common ground. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
and and your skill set is remarkable. That
Thank you.
director motivation to get what you need and knowing what you want, knowing your visual aspect to it. Now, are you still teaching dance classes?
I am. I'm actually going to toot my own horn right now because a year ago I actually had major hip surgery, and it's a very long recovery. And I spent almost every day in physical therapy in 2020, and I'm so
Wow.
happy to say that I'm back teaching in heels nonetheless. Every week I teach a class in North Hollywood, and I actually have so much interest that I've added a second day. So I
Well,
teach twice a week.
we'll provide links that you're still taking on students, I assume.
Yes, absolutely. So right now with COVID protocols, we're only allowed to have 15 students per class, and I feel bad waitlisting people. So I talked to them yesterday, and I said, you know what? Let's just add a second day. Let's do more.
Well, good. And we'll provide the links to how to get in touch with you with regard to dance classes because everybody needs to move a little bit better.
Yeah, or just to move at all. I think this last year we've all got really comfortable staying home on our couches, and it feels good to move your body.
Okay. Okay. Well, Melissa, what am I forgetting? I mean,
What are you forgetting? Well, we can talk. I don't know if you want to talk about tour life. I've been on tour a bunch of
oh,
times.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, international
Yeah.
tours.
Yes. So one of the first jobs I booked when I moved to LA was a European tour with an experimental light theater company. So the best way to explain that would be like Cirque du Soleil, but in the dark. So our costumes would glow. I created the first and only act of its kind where it's actually a rhythmic gymnastics number in UV light. So the ribbon is white, and then when you turn on the UV, it just looks like this fantastic light show extravaganza, which was really cool. So that was back in 2013. I was able to travel to the Middle East, and then we had a residency in Madrid for 6 weeks where I almost learned Spanish. I'm still working on it, but I'm already bilingual in French, so that helped me in more ways than one. Even with my cast members, our main character was from France, and she didn't speak a lick of English, so the only reason I was able to hire her was because I could translate. So that was really cool.
European men, those Spanish men. My
I think they were just fine. I like them.
That's good. You should. You were there.
They look good. So yeah, I did that in 2013, and then we did two U.S. national tours after that over the next 3 years. So I'm so fortunate as an immigrant. I've seen more of this country than some of the people who live here.
Well, and internationally, you've traveled the world, so
Yeah.
your perspective is very, very valuable. What now? How did you come up with the neon lights on the ribbon? Did you think about that as a child? Was it something you always wanted to do, or did it come to you in a dream?
That actually was the producer's idea. He was specifically looking for a rhythmic gymnast. I was the chosen one, and then he gave me full control over what I wanted to create. So we collaborated with different concepts, and actually, initially with that tour, I was the only artist on stage, and we had designed a costume that I still can't give you details about, but it was designed in a way where I was doing contortion, but it looked like I was backwards, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
So really cool, but with a ribbon. And then over the course of the evolution with that company, we were able to add more rhythmic gymnasts to that particular piece. So there were some clips in that of that in my reel, which you maybe saw.
I did.
So it just became its own thing, and I don't know if I should say this, but I will. I actually choreographed it in the Toronto airport on a layover. Yeah, we were like finishing touches on it, and I was like, "Oh man, I gotta get this done." We were like on our way to Tel Aviv, and we had a 12-hour layover in Toronto. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna be that person, and made magic.
See, okay. So in the Toronto airport, you were actually part of the choreography. I assume was dancing, correct?
Yep. Oh yeah.
To,
Yeah, it was weird.
to, yeah, but they applauded. I'll bet.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird for everybody else. For me, I was like, I'm getting paid for this. I don't care if I look silly. I don't care anyways. you know.
So what now? Now we know we can't hear the secrets of the costume design stuff, but what's on the horizon for you? Expanding your dancing classes, getting back on the road,
hmm
I assume.
Ultimately, yeah, that's a goal. I really am just taking everything one day at a time right now. A year ago we were making plans, and then they got pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. So I've become really comfortable just taking things as they come. That being said, I mean, since I started doing my classes again, I mean, I've been teaching heels for 13 years. I started in Edmonton in 2008. I had my own dance crew called Sinfully Sweet, and we were the only all female dance crew that danced in high heels. And I brought that with me to Los Angeles and started teaching again. And I've had so much interest in classes. My DMs are full from women all over the world, some in Australia, Bulgaria, asking me like, can I take your class online? Do you have tutorials? And that's really what I'm going to be working on next week, is getting that content up for them, because I would love to be there for them. But, you know, when I'm teaching on Zoom, it's 4 o'clock in the morning for some of these people. So tutorials are definitely next. And then with my company, we have been getting some inquiries from the right people. I've also signed NDAs about that, so I can't say much, but I can say TV networks are involved, and it's really exciting.
That is very, very cool, Melissa.
Yeah.
I don't want to take up your whole day, but this has been a true pleasure, and I would like you to promise to come back to us. I think our audience is going to love you, uh,
Absolutely.
as most people do. But this has been insightful, and I am a Melissa fan because she is all
Thank
that. Well, no, no, you know, she is an athlete and just a creator and all that art. You know, was your mom an artist? What is your mom's passion in art?
My mom is an artist. I don't know that she would label herself that, but growing up, I was definitely not like a TV child. My mom always was coming up with different arts and crafts for my brother and I to do. I remember we made a paper mache dinosaur one day, and then, she put us outside and said, paint it, you know. Or she would give us, we'd go on road trips all over Alberta, which are some of my favorite memories as a child. And we'd be in the back of the minivan, everybody's minivan from the 90s. And she'd give us like a bucket and some sticks and say, like, write a song, like, be a band, just anything to keep us occupied. So we really had to pull. But I think those experiences growing up have really shaped who I am now. I look at things and I just see them in a really unique way, I guess, a different way than most people. Sometimes I blurt things out and people look at me and they're like, what? Why did that come to your mind? I'm like, I don't know, it just did. So
Because she's a mega artist.
it's just who I am. I'm like,
Yeah,
we can
exactly.
make that bigger. So
Did your brother follow an
always.
artistic path at all?
He did not. He kind of followed more the athletic path. So he's a CFL football agent and a football player himself. And he does a lot of camps for youth in Edmonton and invites players from their football team to come and coach. And he's been really successful with that. So he went more the athletic route, and I went the athletic artistic route.
Okay. All right, Melissa. This has been a pleasure. And everybody, Melissa promised to come back, and we're gonna hold her to that before she's
I will.
often more famous than she already is. And one thing to remember for us, COVID was a blessing in the fact that you have time to talk to us. And a lot of our guests that have come on, some of the comedians and things like that actually had time and were at home and needed to get on and interact with people. So thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're
Everybody,
welcome. Thank you.
this has been Justin Case and Melissa Staroszik providing a few perspectives. Thanks for joining us. Remember, additional information and links provided in this video's read more.